There were hints, there were clues, and there were warnings, but I never fully, truly believed that less than a year after The Humans dropped in 2017 an album that I have grown to absolutely adore, we'd be here back discussing the latest Gorillaz album, The Now Now. Though I guess I really should have believed it because the band started recording it while they were touring for Humans and actually started singing it while on tour, just so they can have more material to sing. Which makes it very similar to The Fall, which, just like The Now Now, came out about a year after the previous Gorillaz album. In that case, Plastic Beach, way back in 2011. Though while The Fall was recorded on an iPad, literally on an iPad while on the road, The Now Now is a little bit different. It was written on the road, written while I was on tour, and then recorded within the studio, all in the space of about a month or so, which is why there are so few collaborations. Other than Snoop Dogg, who was tapped because the song happened to be recorded in LA, where Snoop Dogg was at the time, and Jamie Principle, because he was on the Humans tour. So might as well use him, right? Oh, and George Jepsen was in there too. The Gorillaz lead singer, Damon Albarn, said he was just kind of added sort of randomly, which was much to our delight, so it all worked out. So yeah, The Now Now is very much a sequel of sorts to The Fall, though it blends a bunch that we've seen in Damon Albarn's discography. Everything going back, straight back to the original Gorillaz album, to his 2014 solo album, Everyday Robots, even his 2007 collaboration, The Good, the Bad, and the Queen. That sounds great, right? And, you know, it should be. And maybe it will be. Maybe kind of just like Humans, I will keep listening to it, and maybe a year from now, I will, after having it on my iPod on repeat, days on end, think it's one of the best things I've ever listened to. But right now, that isn't the case. As with The Fall, The Now Now is this soft-spoken kind of back-to-basics personal endeavor that, despite all the thought and passion you can feel in it, I can feel in it while listening, it just doesn't kind of sit up there with the level of genius that was on display in the previous album. It's a melancholy, kind of downhearted album, and a lot of that has to do with Albarn's vocals, which, as you might expect, are a bit gloomy. They're always kind of a bit on the depressing end, just the way he sings with the Gorillaz albums. But it's especially prevalent in this album because, unlike any of the other albums, this one feels like a Damon Albarn joint. He is going through, he's acting out through his character 2D. This is basically 2D's solo album. As Jamie Hewlett, co-creator of the Gorillaz and lead design and artist for the band, said in an interview with The Sun, some of the feedback for Humans was that there wasn't enough of 2D, Damon's voice, and I felt that too. So we just said, let's do another one straight away and make it 2D, the album. There are two songs I think perfectly exemplify this, Kansas and Idaho. With Kansas, which apparently wasn't actually necessarily inspired by or even written in Kansas, Damon Albarn said sometime his Bandcamp titles just kind of stay there, and he may know the reason or he may not know the reason, but they're nothing like really worth sharing apparently. But with Kansas, we get the lyrics, "Am I incapable of healing? The memory of my fall from grace in your heart. I'm on my journey home with no fuel alone. I think I'll coast a while." And in Idaho, we get this chorus. "Idaho, Idaho, there's a beauty on the road, and every day I look out of the bus, silver linings getting lost." It's just so depressing, you know? I don't know. But there is a cool story behind Idaho, which Damon Albarn shared with Entertainment Weekly in an interview. We just played Red Rocks, so I was on the way from there to Seattle. We spent 2 days up in the mountains in this very beautiful place, very disconnected. Almost like a land that time forgot. I've visited the States a lot, but it's the first time I actually paused in the great vast wilderness that is America. I couldn't get enough of it, actually. Idaho, by the way, is probably the weakest song of the album, at least in my opinion. It's just, there's not a lot going on for it. It's got that droning, Idaho, Idaho, however it goes, and I gotta say, I've started to just skip over it. I just don't like it. It's just not, it doesn't match, really, the rest of the songs on the album. But maybe that will change. Maybe I'll grow to love it at some point. But, I've had the exact opposite feelings toward the album's kind of solo single, the one that they launched even before the album dropped, Humility. That dropped alongside Lake Zurich back on May 31st. Humility is sort of a fascinating, but perfect choice for a single. It's kind of got that upbeat George Benson guitar, as played by Jack Black in the accompanying video anyway. And it combines it with these sort of off-putting lyrics, these ones that are kind of telling us to get out of our cocoon, our little musical cocoon, our little comfort zone of isolation, and get out in the world and enjoy each other. Lake Zurich runs in a similar vein, though if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss the lyrics entirely. In fact, a lot of the early reviews of the song questioned the fact that there were no lyrics. They said, well, this sounds like a song that should have lyrics, and there are no lyrics, and, it's a little weird. But if you listen closely, there are lyrics that are a bit backtracked, about the minute 14 mark or so. If you perk your ear up, you can hear them. Now, I've seen a number of guesses at what the lyrics are. There's no official lyrics for the song. But this is the part that most people seem to actually agree on. Because even to me, it sounded ridiculous. But in the morning, after a long, complicated night, I made up my mind to share my vision with the world. Most assumed this was Albarn talking about humans, which, despite my love of the album, was generally negatively received, at least not as strongly received as the previous Gorillaz albums. And as I hinted at before, a lot of this was kind of due to the fact that Albarn was sort of missing from the album, which I believe I mentioned back then in the review. It's been a while since I watched it, but that was definitely a lacking feature of that album. But it was also a strength of that album. Maybe a lot of people don't like change. I enjoyed it eventually. At the beginning, not so much, which I've countered. And maybe those reviewers just didn't listen to it as much as I did. I guess I can't blame them. Nobody loves Gorillaz maybe as much as I do. I'd love to see them in concert one day. One day. But maybe, maybe the song will change things. Maybe this song is kind of trying to indoctrinate people into loving the album, like, posthumously. It's those lyrics that maybe not everybody hears. Maybe it just seeps into your subconscious. I don't need that. Maybe you do. Humility is the only track from the Now Now to receive a proper music video of yet, at least at the time of recording this. And as I noted a minute ago, it features Jack Black strumming along. Though the video and the song completely fails to capitalize on him being available, which is unfortunate because I could have really gone for a Tenacious D Gorillaz crossover song. I think that would probably be great. Did that happen already? It should happen. If that hasn't happened yet, that needs to happen. Hey guys, get on that, okay? The vid blends Hewlett's visuals of a gap-toothed 2D rocking some Beats headphones and short shorts, roller skating through real-life shots of a Venice beach that features a Choose Pazuzu sign, referencing not just The Exorcist, but the Gorillaz D-Sides collection. And I got this quick little cool note from a interview that Damon Albarn did with The Sun about this video. We shot it on Venice Beach on that little stretch where the world comes to an end. You have all the madness of America in one strip. Homeless junkies, prostitutes, gangbangers, and then holidaymakers. In the video, we also get caught up with the band once again. We see Noodle winning chess against Remy Kabaka, one of the album's producers, new member and Murdoch replacement, also former Powerpuff Girls antagonist Ace being a dick, and Russell sporting a depressing "No More Unicorns Anymore" shirt, doing the same. Back up to that whole Ace and Murdoch thing for just a moment. In the story, Murdoch was apparently framed for smuggling by a guy he met at the bar within the Strobe Light video. We'll see what comes to him. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of follow-up video. They've already done a lot of teasers online, a lot of kind of social media, ARG kind of things. We'll see him again. But Ace? Well, Hewlett told The Sun he liked the idea of mixing cartoon characters because, apart from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is a brilliant movie, and Space Jam, another brilliant movie, I knew there was a reason I loved Hewlett. No one has ever had a character going into another cartoon. He added, Cartoon Network was great about it, but they did say no alcohol or prostitutes. I like that little bit at the end there. Interestingly, the eyes of Albarn's 2D go black right at the end of the video. No word yet on what that actually means, though I assume we will have another video follow-up before too long, and so we'll see how the story progresses from there. Even though I'm fairly certain every track of the album now has a visualizer on YouTube. You know, you gotta crank up those hits. Even the relatively lackluster Hollywood has a visualizer on there. That's the one that features Jamie Principle and Snoop Dogg. And sounds very much like a nod-inducing Humans B-side that was left on the cutting room floor. All of the rest of the album's more sort of middling tracks have visualizers as well. That one, those are the ones, I call them middling, but they're good, but they're... How you interpret them really kind of depends on your mood. You might really like them, you might hate them. They're kind of ones that fall somewhere in the middle. I did not like them so much at first. I'm starting to warm up to them. We'll see how I inevitably settle out. But, you know, I'm talking about Trans, Fireflies, Sorcerers, Magic City, and the like there. Magic City, by the way, very, very reminiscent of The Good, the Bad, and the Queen, which is pretty interesting given Albarn dropped news that he has recorded, or maybe he's in the midst of post-production on a new album from The Good, the Bad, and the Queen. So maybe this is almost sort of like a tease. Maybe he was already transitioning in his head toward, you know, recording and writing The Good, the Bad, and the Queen. Because again, this one sounds like something that would be on an album for that band, for that little spin-off side gig band, whatever you want to call it. You know, I honestly don't know where Damon Albarn finds all the time to record all of this music. Although, as Hewlett points out, they did all that touring last year with all the wasted time that goes with it. So I guess, why not make an album? Why not make another album? Or two? Or three? You know what? If you've watched this far, you could have just been listening to the album. So why don't you go do that? Why don't I just end that there? I just want to say, it's a great album. It's not as good as Humans, though maybe you hated the Humans and you'll love this one even more. This one kind of harkens back a lot more to the original Gorillaz album, except it's lacking Del the Funky Homo Sapien. So people like my cousin, who really likes the Gorillaz for Del the Funky Homo Sapien, because that's how the Gorillaz sort of landed when they launched Clint Eastwood. Maybe you won't enjoy it as much. I think it's a good album. It's streamable everywhere. Go watch it on YouTube. Go listen to it on Pandora. Go buy it. Go buy it physically like I did. Except don't go to Best Buy like I did before I could find it, because Best Buy apparently stopped selling physical CDs because Best Buy just kind of sucks. Yeah, I had to go to Target. And they only had 3 copies come in, and all of those were gone within the first day. So, you know, get CDs in your stores, people. People are buying them. There are people like me. We still exist. Don't let Amazon have it all. And if you are really feeling the album, Gorillaz is touring through the year. Thank you once again for catching up with this Drunk on Writing Dissection. If you enjoyed this, please be sure to subscribe to the YouTube series. Please follow me over on Twitter, or head on over to patreon.com/drunkonwriting and check out all the extra goodies that you can sign up there for. Everything from $1 to $100, and a whole lot to offer, including early access. So if you have early access and you're watching this early, thank you. If not, thank you, and consider it. And until you do, and until then, cheers, and keep on writing.